Chancellor Zakri Abdul Hamid, Science Advisor to the Prime Minister of Malaysia and Chairman of SDSN Malaysia Chapter. Professor Jeffrey Sachs, Director of the Center for Sustainable Development, Columbia University, Director of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, and the Chairman of the Jeffrey Sachs Center on Sustainable Development at Sunway University. Professor Graeme Wilkinson, Vice Chancellor of Sunway University. Professor Thye, Director of the Jeffrey Sachs Center on Sustainable Development, distinguished guests, members of the media, and everyone in JC3 watching live. Silent. I thought we might hear a cheer from the corridors. Salam sejahtera, selamat pagi, a very good morning, and a warm welcome to the inaugural conference and launch of the Jeffrey Sachs Center on Sustainable Development at Sunway University. A very significant day indeed, not only for the university, but I think for the world and the United Nations as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for coming early this morning and braving the weather and the traffic. We promise you it will be worth it. The Jeffrey Chia Foundation and the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network Association today launch the Jeffrey Sachs Center on Sustainable Development to carry out comprehensive collaboration on sustainable development as the global community under the leadership of the United Nations begins the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. The gift of $10 million from the Jeffrey Chia Foundation to support this collaboration is the largest financial commitment to date focused on SDG education and implementation since 193 members of the United Nations adopted the 17 goals in September 2015. I'm sure that deserves a very large round of applause. So we have to say a very big thank you to the Jeffrey Chia Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin our program this morning, please join me in welcoming Professor Graeme Wilkinson, Vice Chancellor of Sunway University.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all, and especially to Yang Berbahagia, Professor Tan Sri Zakri Abdul Hamid, Science Advisor to the Prime Minister of Malaysia and Chairman of SDSN Malaysia Chapter, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, Director of the Center for Sustainable Development at Columbia University, Director of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, and Chairman of the Jeffrey Sachs Center on Sustainable Development at Sunway University, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, Senior Officials and Business Leaders, all of our distinguished guests, colleagues from Sunway Group, Sunway University and Sunway Education Group, conference delegates, and members of the media. It gives me very great pleasure to welcome you all this morning to this landmark event, the inaugural conference and launch of the Jeffrey Sachs Center on Sustainable Development here at Sunway University. This is indeed a very special occasion, as later today we are officially launching the new Jeffrey Sachs Center here at Sunway University in the presence of our Prime Minister. I can tell you that I am absolutely delighted that this center is being established here and that Professor Sachs has given his name to the center and will be closely involved in directing its activities as its chairman. This presents an exciting opportunity for Sunway University as well as for other institutions here in Malaysia, as well as those further afield in Southeast Asia, to engage with the key issues in sustainable development and to interact with Professor Sachs and some of the leading global thinkers in the field. The establishment of this center comes about from the dedication and commitment of Tan Sri Dato Sri Dr. Jeffrey Chia, founder and chairman of Sunway Group and Chancellor of Sunway University, to sustainability issues. Indeed, Tan Sri Jeffrey Chia has underpinned his commitment with a major philanthropic donation of $10 million, both to support the work of the Sustainable Development Solutions Network and to establish the Jeffrey Sachs Center. This immense generosity is supporting the work of SDSN and the global efforts by Professor Sachs and his collaborators to promote the vitally important cause of sustainability and to educate young people on sustainability issues. You will see from the program that today we have an outstanding lineup of speakers on sustainable development from some of the most distinguished universities and research centers in the world, who will be sharing their perspectives on the current challenges in sustainability. One of them is, of course, Professor Jeffrey Sachs himself. We are indeed deeply honored to have Professor Sachs here and to have his center here in Sunway. Some people say that this is the century of Asia. Asia is developing rapidly, both economically and socially, but this, of course, brings about enormous challenges in sustainability. The whole world, and Asia in particular, needs a much stronger focus on sustainable development. And in this inaugural conference, we're going to hear from those individuals who perhaps have the best understanding of the current challenges in sustainability. We are here to learn from them and to consider how Malaysia, how Southeast Asia can engage more effectively with sustainable development, and in particular with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and to come up with workable solutions across many fronts. I'm delighted, therefore, to welcome to this inaugural conference a broad spectrum of individuals ranging from sustainability experts and practitioners, government officials, representatives of industry, as well as researchers, students, and educationalists. All of us have a stake in the future of our planet and in ensuring that sustainability concerns take a much more central place in our thinking. I'm therefore delighted to welcome all of you who've come to participate in this event, both to learn and to share your own perspectives on the important challenges of sustainable development. I would, of course, like to say a very special thank you to all of the distinguished guest speakers, as well as to the moderators who will chair the sessions. We are extremely grateful and indeed honored that you've been willing to contribute to this event. We know how precious your time is, and we feel privileged that you have been able to commit your time and also to travel, in some cases, very far in order to share your knowledge and wisdom with us here today. I would also like to say a special thank you to our sponsors and supporters for their generous contributions in helping to make this unique event possible. I would also like to express my sincere thanks to the many people here at Sunway who have been working hard, often behind the scenes and sometimes late into the night, coordinating matters across time zones to make this event a success. I'm very grateful to every one of you for your magnificent efforts. Finally, may I wish all of you a very successful inaugural conference and launch event, and hope that you will go away both enlightened about some of the current sustainability challenges and also interested in playing your part to drive the sustainability agenda and to ensure a more prosperous, more socially equitable, and more sustainable future for us all. Thank you, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Professor Wilkinson. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to invite Professor Wu Wing Thye, Director of the Jeffrey Sachs Center on Sustainable Development, to deliver his speech.
Good morning. Welcome to the inaugural conference of the Jeffrey Sachs Center. I am the lucky person who has been selected to head the institute. And I think that I'd like to first begin by first saying a special word of thanks to the people who are sitting in JC3. Thank you very much to you for participating in the discussion of today's conference through long-distance learning means. Your enthusiasm certainly strengthens the faith of the research team at JSC in its mission to research, to understand, teach, and practice sustainable development. Thank you very much for your enthusiasm, and I look forward to your participation for the rest of the day. Sustainable development has three main themes. The first is economic dynamism, the second, social inclusion, and the third, the sustainability of the natural environment. Economic dynamism in the Malaysian context means restoring the high growth that we used to experience before the Asian financial crisis. Before the Asian financial crisis, the growth rate was roughly, the trend rate was roughly 8% a year. And after it was over, we were quite optimistic that our capable economic management would prevent such a disaster again. And so, naturally, the then Prime Minister Muhammad Mahathir predicted a growth rate of 7.5% for the next 10 years, from 2000 to 2010. And this is very much in line with the goals of Organising 2020. Unfortunately, things have changed in the world such that growth rate was only around 5% in the first 10 years. Yes, Organising 2020 has been a worthy target. After all, we are very good in achieving targets. We have made great progress under the new economic policy program, reducing poverty and greatly reducing inequality among the races, and industrialize the country. But Organising 2020 has been hard to achieve, and so the government has responded in a timely fashion with Transformasi Nasional 2050. It's further away, but we have a new strategy of how to get there. We hope that JSC will be able to be of some assistance to the government on how we could improve the catch-up with the richest countries in the world. On social inclusion, we have certainly done very well because the inequality among races has definitely been reduced substantially. But if you look at inequality in general, you could decompose it into several components. Inequality from among the races, inequality within income groups, inequality across states. On all of this, some progress definitely been made on the reducing inequality between races. What has now become bigger is inequality in income between income groups. Basically, the inequality in each race has now roughly the same and widened in some communities significantly. Inequality across the country has also, the evidence suggests, widened substantially. Klang Valley, everybody should be like Klang Valley, not without the traffic jam, but be having the same high income level. So the previous Prime Minister, Abdullah Badawi, initiated the regional development corridor programs. So the government has always been very proactive in addressing the problems that have appeared. And as Dato' Zakri mentioned yesterday in the SDSN Malaysia chapter meeting, the issue has always been implementation. So, but we hope that with the training programs that Sunway University and JSC would conduct with the other universities in Malaysia, the implementation issue would be overcome. Of course, on the third issue of natural environment sustainability, the thing that affects all of us is not just national, but regional and global, which is the unwanted gift from our neighbor, the smog that clogs our sky. We hope that the SDSN will be one of the vehicles to work with our Indonesian partners to address this problem. And I'm happy to say that the speakers that we have lined up for today's conference will touch on all three of these themes. I'm very grateful to Tan Sri Zachary Abdul Hamid, Professor Daniel Schreck, Professor Angelo Riccaboni, Professor Xuelan, and Professor Jeffrey Sachs for coming here to share with us their thoughts on these three issues. And I am very happy that we have already been inducted into SDSN Malaysia chapter and to be tasked with the job of preparing the indicators of sustainable development in Malaysia. Tan Sri Zachary, we hope that we will not disappoint you. Thank you for the assignment.